Gumpai Kuparu. Gumpai Kuparu was an indie Filipino-American VTuber who debuted on September 11th, 2024, and was known to be a girlfriend experience VTuber. She would get involved in drama on November 24th, 2024, where she would make a post on Twitter about a user known as Kusa, an indie toy maker from Vietnam known for making handmade custom order plushies. She would accuse Kusa of being a scammer by alleging that he stole her character to make plushies without her permission, as well as making fun of his plushies for being quote-unquote Temu tier plushies. Kusa would later tweet out that he was commissioned to make these plushies by somebody else, and that he had no ill intent behind making and selling these plushies, to which a majority of people would agree and side with him, including prominent VTubers such as Bao and Pippa. With attempts from Gumpai to garner more sympathy by doubling down on her claims only making her reputation worse, her responses would get more unhinged as she would claim that she was getting quote-unquote raped by the VTubing community, likely as a way to garner more attention and engagement. This could be seen later on when Gumpai would attempt to promote her merch collab with Uwu Market by quote retweeting her original post, which would end up not even happening as Uwu Market terminated the collab due to the ongoing drama. While this would be one of the main reasons for her downfall, she would also face even more controversies stemming from her girlfriend experience side, where it would be found out that not only was Gumpai really unhinged, but would also end up being caught having an actual boyfriend, which, as a girlfriend experience VTuber, essentially killed Gumpai's career. There would even be an archive of various pics, photos, and audios from Gumpai, ranging from commissions to NSFW content. There will be a link to the archive in the description, but viewer discretion is 100% advised. There's definitely some oddities in there. Gumpai would attempt to return under a different persona known as Zuba with a stream on January 3rd, 2025, but would later get permabanned due to trying to extort banned viewers by demanding $1,000 to get unbanned from her chat. The Zuba account has some oddities on its own, such as a letterboxd review talking about the homoerotic fan service in Top Gun Maverick, and a somewhat active backlogged account where she occasionally rates games, in which 182 out of 198 games were rated 1 star as of this video. Today, she's attempting to return again under a different persona known as Miro Maki, where she's claiming to change for the better, though judging by the number of hidden replies warning people that it's not her first time returning, the most we can do is wait and see if Gumpai actually follows through. Amiralist Blue. Amiralist Blue was an indie UK VTuber who debuted on TikTok on February 13th, 2024, and YouTube and Twitch the next day. Now, while Amy was in Hyaxis during her career, there is a reason why I consider her an indie VTuber rather than a corpo VTuber. Amy wasn't well known at the time as she was just starting out as a VTuber, but would garner large attention on November 2nd, 2024, where she announced her graduation due to serious health complications. This would later be accompanied by a post on Reddit, where it would be announced by Hyaxis, managed by her cousin Maria, that Amy passed away due to a fatal heart attack. A Twitter thread would also be posted by Hyaxis that would explain more information. This would lead to many new and current fans expressing remorse for her passing, and her channel would gain a boost in following, nearly reaching 20,000 subscribers over the next few months. Her cousin would later post again on Reddit, venting about how Amy only became semi-viral due to her passing. She would go on to rant on Amy's Discord server, and would also make some odd remarks. This would have been the end of the story. However, on February 23rd, 2025, Amy would upload on her YouTube channel, announcing that while she may be known as the girl who died back in November, she did not in fact die, but miraculously survived her heart attack, and that her friends, out of concern due to the lack of contact from Amy, made the claim that she died. She would be welcomed back with open arms and would be an inspiration to those who are battling with chronic illnesses. Her success would continue to grow, until on February 28th, 2025, a video by the name of The VTuber That Faked Her Death, Amaryllis Blue, would be posted, going into detail about 2 main points. The first one being that her old agency, Hyaxis, was comprised of 4 talents who were all voiced by Amy, and therefore being the exact same person. The second one being that during her 3-month quote-unquote death, she created another agency with their own talents that were also voiced by Amy. Initially, this video wouldn't garner traction whatsoever. However, eventually, this would start the rabbit hole of oddities and suspicions towards Amy's identity as a whole. Amy would try to defend these allegations by posting clips and pics that would supposedly prove her genmates were different people. However, upon further analysis of her voice, singing, and even laugh patterns by her community, as well as her own slip-ups that she made, things weren't adding up, and people were starting to piece things together. She would end up graduating a second time on March 4th, 2025, after her claimed suicide attempt. This would get questioned by her community, as she would still be posting on YouTube and Twitter despite her claiming in DMs that she was deeply medicated and wasn't in the right mind to talk and make decisions. In the community's eyes, this would be the final nail on the coffin. Two of her mods, Ultra and Spectre, would confront Amy by trying to reach out to both her main account and other talent, Kimari Momiro, which the mods concluded that Momiro was also an alt account for Amy. The two would try and start a call to talk about Amy and her other accounts, but would get deflected in the process. Spectre would continue to push for some form of answers and simply wanted to hear an apology for the whole controversy, but would only be met with more deflection and eventually resignation. The two would announce and discuss Amy's deception in massive detail over a Discord call. Amy would eventually admit to some of her lies, such as her fake agency, and posted a Google Doc detailing her side of the whole debacle. A few days later, her ex-mod Ultra would provide clarification on Amy's mental well-being and an update on Amy's return, stating that while he highly recommended Amy to come clean about her new identity, Amy chose to remain quiet for the sake of keeping drama away from her new persona. In the end, Amy may or may not be still active under a new identity to this day, though it isn't clear who she really is. Amy's YouTube and Twitter would be deleted, her Twitch account is still up but abandoned, and her TikTok is still up with her old posts still remaining. Whether she's approved as a person or not with her new identity is something that we can only guess. Cinder. Cinder was an indie American VTuber who debuted on June 25th, 2022, and was one of the top indie VTubers on Twitch, peaking around 350,000 followers. She would get involved in a massive controversy on April 26, 2025, when Nanolys, the artist for Cinder's models, posted a 17-page document going over her experiences with Cinder and her manager, Redacted. The document would go over a lot of information, with various screenshots showing the two slandering other VTubers such as Bao, attempting to force exclusivity by forcing Nano to not take any other clients other than Cinder, dragging Nano into drama with other VTubers while guilt-tripping her, and manipulating Nano in the name of their actions being, quote, simply business. Cinder would go on to post a statement later that day, announcing that she would remove Red from his management position and state a brief apology. And that's it. This would get massive backlash from the community, and would even get called out by Vampeach's VT, that Red was Cinder's boyfriend and that trying to shift all the blame onto Red when both were responsible is not the brightest move. A small document by Rain Does Stuff would be posted after this response, where Rain goes over his experiences with Cinder prior to her debut. More specifically, how pre-debut Cinder, who was known as Tashi at the time, was flirting and even sexting with Rain, despite both of them knowing that Tashi had a boyfriend. While the document mostly contains their interactions, it highlights the fact that Cinder isn't totally blameless in the controversy and is just as responsible as Red. Another document, posted by Spite, would support Nano's document by confirming that one of the screenshots was, in fact, talking about her. She would go on to post how Cinder would post stream announcements, model reveals, and other things around the same time Spite was, which became sus after it occurred multiple times. She would also get a DM from an anonymous person on January 25th, 2023, where they expressed concern over the fact that they were getting bullied by Cinder regarding their model design. Spite would express disappointment and sadness over the fact that Cinder was bullying her and various VTubers despite not even interacting with one another, highlighting the fact that Cinder is just as bad of a person as people are now seeing. A 14-page document by Silverveil would also support Nano's document, by showcasing the obsessive behavior Red and Cinder had towards taking down Silverveil. Silverveil would also add the fact that Cinder uploaded a picture of her and Silverveil meeting at a con without her permission. After all these documents and backlash from the community, Cinder would eventually release her own apology a day later, in the form of her own document, which is a good 7 pages worth. The apology boils down to this. She apologized to Nano for Red's manipulation towards Cinder, claiming that she was largely unaware of Red's actions, which included the exclusivity attempts. She claims to have always valued Nano as a friend and regrets her quote-unquote guilt-trippy messages. She confirmed again that she is in fact in a relationship with Red, and claims that Red's influence warped her perspective, leading to her making poor decisions and mistreating others. She has since removed Red from his managerial role. She confirmed that Tashi was her old channel that was focused on girlfriend experience content, and admitted to emotionally and sexually cheating on her boyfriend with Rain. She would attribute this behavior to immaturity, inexperience, and dissatisfaction with her personal life. She apologized to Spite for thinking that she copied Cinder's design, claiming that any visual similarities were coincidental, she never advocated for harassment, and denied knowledge of Red's negative comments about Spite. She would also reference Nyan Tails for similar reasons. She admitted to having resentment towards Silverveil due to comparisons between model designs, as her own design was a pivot from Silverveil's redesign reveal, leading to her supporting Red's efforts of sabotaging Silverveil. She apologized to Peaches and other friends for her lack of connection with them, stating that she would prioritize projects over friendships due to various career-related hindrances. The apology was, to put it in light terms, a total catastrophe. with many prominent VTubers such as Nyawners and Shy Lily bashing Cinder for her supposed lack of awareness towards the situations and continuing to throw Red under the bus rather than fully owning up to her own behavior. This controversy would mark the end of her career, as she would go on an indefinite hiatus from streaming following the apology. As of this video, there is speculation regarding Cinder's return. With VShojo's massive controversy, that I will talk about in a future video, my previous agency's video has in fact aged like fine milk, leading to over $1.2 million being donated to the Immune Deficiency Foundation, which if you wish to donate, I'll provide a link to in the description. Cinder's name appears in the list of donators with a donation of $6,666, though there is no confirmation that the donation actually came from her. If it was in fact Cinder, it's unclear whether she did it out of the kindness of her own heart or to save some sort of face. However, it is a respectable donation to an important cause. Baybub. Baybub was an indie Czech VTuber who debuted on April 2nd, 2021, and peaked around 40,000 followers. She would be involved in drama regarding her ban on Twitch on August 10th, 2024, where Bub would claim that her 7-day ban was a false ban, and that a small Dead by Daylight creator, known as Napnight, framed her for harassing him over a match. This would get disputed by DVD content creator Spookinjukes, where he would post a snippet from Bub's stream that showed Bub and fellow streamer Antan shaming and harassing Napnight by calling him a quote prepubescent white boy, among other slurs, after he killed 3 out of 4 survivors, which for those who don't play the game, is considered a win for the killer. Bub and Ann would continue to try and deflect the fault onto Napnight, but would get shut down by fellow VTubers, community nodes, and Napnight himself, who reinforced the fact that their behavior was shameful and that victimizing themselves isn't helping their situation at all. Bub would get unbanned from Twitch 2 days later, in which the community was very unhappy over her return. She would later post an apology regarding her behavior, which many were quick to condone her behavior, and would take a step back from streaming. Ann would also go on to post an apology. However, many viewed this apology as a failed attempt at salvaging her reputation, and would even be debunked by Napnight, as Ann had him blocked since his response and never reached out for an apology. While Antan continues to stream to this day, though she's on a follower loss streak since the incident, Baybub has not streamed on her Twitch channel since and has even deleted her account. It is unclear if she plans to come back at all.